What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Day Trading Show. We've got another special guest. I know that you guys are loving that we're bringing people into the show, and this guy brings a lot of value. Omar has been gaining traction on social media like crazy, so I figured now is the best time to sit down with him. We talk about everything from the way that he trades to how he got into trading to what is he doing going forward with multiple funded accounts and trade copiers and all the stuff that you guys want to hear about. So make sure you sit back, turn your trading view off, and enjoy today's episode. All right, everybody, welcome back. We've got another special, super entertaining, super valuable episode today. We've got James. James, good to see you, brother, with the internet connections. I'm glad you're here. And we've got Omar all the way. Omar, where are you coming in from today?
Queens, New York.
Queens, New York. That's my brother from the Northeast. You know,
Yeah.
I'm originally from Philly, so we got that connection. We got that Northeast blood.
On the East Coast.
As your trading starts to continue to grow and grow and grow, bro, you know you're going to have to migrate down to Florida like the rest of us, right?
Oh, it's funny. I was actually talking to my girlfriend about possibly either moving to Florida or going to Puerto Rico because, Puerto Rico. I've just seen too many people move there. I've heard
beautiful.
Yeah, and then also like with the whole tax situation.
That's it, right? Have you come down to Florida at all? Have you come to check it out?
Yeah. I've been to like Disney and stuff like that, St. Petersburg. Me and my dad actually have a property out there in St. Petersburg.
Really? Where do you know where in St. Pete? That's so funny, bro.
We stayed there. It's kind of like in a little bit of like one of those gated communities. Like I remember we bought this like a couple of years ago. It was only like $60,000. I was like,
bro,
damn.
It's probably worth $260 or $360 now.
Yeah, the way that the housing market is right now, I would not be shocked one bit.
Right, dude, for sure. But listen, we're really grateful to have you here. I know James has some questions for you. I've got some questions for you. I know the audience is really excited for this. So let's just jump in, with a little intro about yourself. Could you tell us age? You said you're from New York, and maybe how you got into trading.
Yeah. So I'm 27. I've been trading now for about 4 years. So it's July 4th. So I started my journey around July as well. Exactly 4 years ago. So this month was kind of like about the 4-year anniversary.
Mazel tov.
Yeah, thank you. and yeah, I'm from Queens, New York, and yeah, I got into trading, man, just because it's like the old cliche story of like being a college dropout, blah blah blah, and stuff like that. But you know what it is, and I don't condemn college, but I had to go through that experience to kind of find out, like, you know what, this genuinely isn't for me. There's people that I know, like, and I'm gonna start off saying this, right? Because I'm gonna say, yeah, I'm a college dropout, but it's like, because I have a lot of people who DM me now on Twitter and stuff like that. They always tell me like, oh, what do you think about college? Should you drop out? Because they heard a little bit about my story. And I'm just like, listen, dude, it wasn't for me, right? Because I was, even in high school, I was not a good student. But obviously, I can't drop out of high school. My parents and stuff like that. Yeah, so that wasn't an option. But in college, as you become older and become more aware, and you become more of a man, and make your own decisions. I just made that decision for myself. But I have so many friends, dude, who are making really, really good money, and they all had degrees. You know what I mean? So it's just everyone's going to have their own path. It's going to be different for each individual. But for me, it just wasn't for me because, again, I was more of the person who was like, I just like to do my own thing. I don't like people telling me, oh, yeah, you have to do this on this deadline. Plus, I feel like I perform better when I'm kind of my own boss, when I kind of just like, set my own schedules, and I have to like just perform. I've always been like that with sports and everything.
Why do you think that is? Let's like take us back a little bit. I'm curious because your story is very similar to mine. I'm 27. I dropped out of college. I'm sure you've seen that from other videos. So like very similar story, bro. So what is that? Have you been a hustler since day one? Like, have you been selling your mom's jewelry at a garage sale like I was, like lemonade stands and snow shoveling, right? Like tell us about like why do you think you are the way that you are now that you're 27? You can reflect a little bit. You know yourself better today than you've ever known before. So how far back can you trace that hustler, that entrepreneur inside of you? I'm curious.
It's funny because like, people always have that type of story. But for me, man, when I was younger, my dad has like a lot of friends. So he was actually able to put me on to like jobs. I worked as a delivery boy in Manhattan and stuff like that. I used to get really good tips. I was never like the entrepreneurial type. That's really the crazy part. I see so many people. Yeah, it really is, because a lot of people say, oh, I was selling lemonade. I was selling like you said, jewelry.
Yeah.
And stuff like that, but fixing iPhones, like, dude, that was not my story, you know what I mean? But I think it just comes down to like kind of I don't know, it was weird because working and stuff like that, like it gave me it kind of gave me the real life situation where it's like, all right, you kind of have someone who's over you, a manager, the boss, the owner, to kind of telling you like, oh yeah, you gotta do this. Yeah, and I had good like bosses throughout, like, you know, even when I was like in middle school. But it's just, yeah, I don't know. I think that experience kind of led me to like, all right, I kind of want to do my own thing, because this guy who owns the bagel store, he's not doing that. Like, dude, the owner will come in, count his cash every Saturday, make sure like, you know, the manager is doing everything proper, check up on the store, speak with customers, and I wouldn't see him until next Saturday again. So I'm like, he's making way more money and I'm doing more of the hard labor. So it's just kind of eye-opening, you know what I mean?
No,
yeah, I think that's where it comes
How old
from.
were you at the bagel store? How long ago was that?
That was when I was like 14, 15.
That's what I'm saying, bro. So it's like those young moments where you see something that sticks with you and you're like, I want to be like that guy. So how did you find trading then? Like, did you drop out and then find trading, or did you find trading while you were in college?
No, I dropped out first because I knew this is the thing, right? And my dad's an entrepreneur too. So my dad, it's funny. He also like, he started off when he moved from Egypt to America. He started, him and his brothers, they all started off working at a bagel store, deliveries and stuff like that, which is how I got the job through their connection.
The immigrant hustle, bro, is so real, bro. It is so real. Really is. Nobody hustles like a first generation immigrant. Yeah,
exactly.
Both from Africa. Yeah. But yeah, so you were saying your brothers and the whole family, they're all hustlers, right? Your dad and everybody.
Yeah, so my dad, my uncles and stuff like that, his brothers, they all came here. They were working at a bagel store. They ended up like, you know, learning how to like do taxes, learning how to like do payroll, stuff like that. And then my dad's brother, my uncle, he started the business and he was getting it afloat while my dad and my other uncle were kind of working at the bagel store to kind of like, you know, just like bring income and stuff like that. Yeah. And once he got that business going up, my dad and my uncle joined him. And yeah, ever since then, like my dad, even to this day, just does taxes and stuff like that.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So, and you know what it is, like, that's the thing, when you kind of have that experience, when you kind of see it firsthand, especially because like my dad went from kind of like, you know, working and stuff like that to that point, and you kind of see that transition, it kind of hits home, like, you know what, like, dude, there's no excuses for me, there's no excuses for anyone else. Like, he speaks English and stuff like that, but it's like, it's obviously not as like, we have a stronger foundation and we have a much bigger advantage when you're born in the US, when you're born in like a UK or a first world country. And I think people take that for granted. So yeah, it's just kind of seeing that ultimately made me realize, like, when I was in college, you know, I'm just going to drop out. I'm going to become an entrepreneur in something. I wasn't sure what it was. And yeah, but I found about trading because ironically, my roommate, who's like one of my best friends, he actually was trading binary options our freshman year.
Yeah, and then it kind of binary days, bro.
Yeah. Oh boy. Yeah, the good old binary options, man. And then he pretty much it came full circle, because when I dropped out around junior year, I was like, you know, think about like maybe opening up a like some type of lounge / club, opening up something in the city when I come down. But then I realized like I kind of need money to do all that. And then he was talking to me about like, you know, trading. And that's when I was like, oh yeah, didn't you do that freshman year? And then since then, I just went on YouTube, started studying, looking into like stocks, because that was my first experience. I actually didn't start off with Forex. But yeah, that's kind of how I got my intro into it with one of my friends.
That's crazy, bro. It's, again, so many similarities in our story. I got into trading with binary options. Don't tell me you were following the same dude with the gold Lamborghini from Canada, right? Did you see him?
Oh, no. So I just saw my friend trade binary.
Okay. I was going to say, there was this dude all over Instagram, and he was the guy that like showed me what binary options was, because he had a gold Lamborghini. And I was like, wow, this is amazing. This was before, I think, because this is like 6 years ago. So a little bit before that. So yeah, but bro, so many similarities to our story. So then when you got in with binary options, then you got into stocks, then what pushed you to Forex? Like, was it just YouTube and you found someone talking about trading Forex on YouTube and then you went deeper into that rabbit hole specifically?
Yeah. So my journey, like, so I started trading stocks actually 2017. Okay. There was, so I was learning towards the end of 2016, but I wasn't trading. Sure. And I remember like it was December, like going into Christmas. I remember like I just took out like a little bit of a student loan. Like it was like, well, around like $4,000 or $5,000. I just enrolled just so I can get back the student loan, but I wasn't going to class.
That's it, bro.
I would not suggest that. That was a very bad. I mean, but it was only $4,000 or $5,000, so I knew like I'm not taking a huge risk. Right. I'm going to be able to pay this off. Plus, you get that 1 year grace period, interest free. I'm like, worst case scenario, I'll get a job, whatever. But yeah, I did that, and I was actually trading. There's like this program called TradeNet. They actually don't cater to U.S. residents anymore. But it's essentially like the prop model, except there's no evaluations. You immediately get a funded account, and it comes with education and a chat room. And it was only like $800 to get a 14K account. Wow! And I'm like, dude, this is, yeah. Obviously, they have the drawdown limits as well, so it's not really a 14K account. But it was a great starting point, and honestly, it was really good. But then after a year into it, like when I came into about 7 months into it, when it became into the summer, I was actually, dude, I was making some money in stocks because it wasn't as difficult. I was just trading basic flag patterns, volume, shorting at resistance on a higher time frame, very basic stuff, and just scalping. That's why like I was able to make money because I wasn't holding for big moves, and I was able to just get like, okay, 1 to 1, 1 to 2, and just scalp quick moves. And with stocks, it's so fast. Like you can just trade the open, like 30 minutes and you're done. It's not like FX where you kind of have to wait for a move for a little while.
Right.
And my buddy told me about, he hit me up on Instagram, different friend. We actually were in a group chat together. He was trading futures. He was like, dude, why don't you just go to Forex? Because the money that you're making, I was only making like $1,000 to $2,000 a month, which was still pretty good at the time. But he was like, dude, you can scale this up much bigger in Forex because of the leverage. And I'm like, what's Forex? And he was explaining it to me. And yeah, that's when I made the transition because it made sense because of that, less capital requirements, higher margins. And it just, that's where the Forex journey began in 2018.
So it's interesting. You went right in with a type of a prop firm model. So you have your trading experience almost rooted in working with a firm, working in a professional environment, working with a company that's giving you education, like giving you substance. You didn't really come in, it seems like, and just start looking at candles and start just trying to figure it out for yourself. So did you end up, I'm sure you paid back that student loan and then you took it from there by moving to would it be from that prop firm originally that isn't taking US clients? Now you've moved to FTMO. Was that like the next big step, I guess? Of course, skipping a few things in the interim there, but once you were like, I want to do Forex, did you go looking for the Forex prop firm?
No. So because you know what it was the only reason why I was even thinking about, like, it was, looking back at it now, like after you asked that question, it's funny because with the stock days, I only did that model because I would have been okay trading my own money, but the problem was you have to have a $25,000 account with equity,
PDT.
or the PDT. So I'm like, I don't have $25,000 I could just put into an account.
Right.
So when Forex, I'm like, oh, I could deposit $1,000. All right. So then I didn't even think about the prop model at that moment. Plus, I don't think FTMO and them were that big in 2018.
No, they were not. I told James, like when I got into trading, FTMO was there, but I was like, there's no way this firm is going to give you money, blah, blah, blah. And then next thing you know, 2 years after that, I start working for a prop firm in New York City. And I'm like, oh, I guess the prop firm thing is real. And this is legit. And then I went down the rabbit hole. You study, I'm sure, Bellafiore and SMB Capital, all these other big firms. You're like, oh, prop firms have been around for a long time. Like this is professional trading in a way. And I think it's super cool. And you're, one, so is James, so am I. We're great examples for people like, this is the new era of prop trading where you can do prop trading from home. You don't have to wake up at 4 a.m. and take the train into New York and you just wake up and can run it from home. And it's a win-win because the firms are making money, so if they can find guys like us that can make money, they want to back you. There's this, this age that we've lived through with low interest rates, free money everywhere. It's almost stupid, I felt, to not try to get funded because you'll look back on it and regret it. You'll say there was so much money in the system at that time. There was so much opportunity and I didn't do it. So I feel like that's why these prop firms have gotten so much attention. So let's get into this. I've got some questions because I know James does as well around the prop firms. What are your thoughts? Let's start at the top. This is what kept me out of it for a while. So James has been funded, what, 2 years almost now, James? A year and a half, something like that?
Year and a half. Yeah. Year and a bit. Yeah.
So, and I've been working with James that whole time, basically. So I saw him get funded and I didn't jump on the train right away. And I think it was me being closed-minded. And I eventually came around to it and it's been a great thing. My issue with it was that I didn't like that some of the firms were paying winning traders out with the fee from other traders. That's the way it seemed. But once I got over that, the money starts coming in. So how did you approach that? Call it a moral gray area. What are your thoughts?
It's funny because I actually didn't get into the prop firms until like this year. Well, like it was like towards the end of last year, but unfortunately I started with, I tried one FTMO challenge, didn't pass that. And then I remember I did one with the funded, what's funding talent? I think that was the one that went
Yeah.
Because you know what it was? Because the thing about me, right? I always was like last year specifically, I was always kind of hesitant on the firms. Two reasons, right? One was like the minimum trading days. I'm like, dude, like no one wants to wait a whole month to get an account because you're essentially trading a demo in that month and you're not taking advantage of the opportunities in the market at that moment, right? So that was kind of, but then funding talent came out and then they had that no minimum trading days. I got an account within a week because I was just like, all right, you know what? If I don't care if I blow the account, I'm just gonna go like I'm going to risk like, like 30% of the account, try to go for 2R. You know what I mean? So I can
And
finish
bang
it.
Like, right. Because really, what is the risk? The risk in reality is only the money you paid them.
Exactly. So that's what I'm thinking. I'm like, all right. And if I get the account in a week, I'll make back that money. Even if I blow this one, I'll do another challenge and boom, keep it pushing. And my issue with like in terms of like what you were saying about the gray area where they pay people off, this is how I see it, right? Well, I've watched an interview with the funded trader and they talk about how they actually make money from two ways. They do make money from the challenge fees, but they also sell traders data, kind of similar to how Robinhood does it, where because think about it, they have a pool of traders of data, which with actual firms and like, big companies would for sure pay for, you know what I mean? Because that trader data is very, very valuable. So I'm like, all right, you know what? And even if like I'm getting paid off of other losing traders, right? That was a concern because I remember in the beginning of last year, I was hesitant on the funding programs simply because I'm like, not because it was a moral thing, but it was like, all right, well, what happens if they can't pay me out? Because let's say there's not enough challenge fees to go around, or there's a month where like a lot of traders did really well because maybe the market volatility was amazing and the opportunities were there and everyone took advantage. You know what I mean? Like what happens in that scenario? So I was always hesitant in the beginning of last year, but then I kind of opened up to it because I'm like, you know what, dude, it's worth the risk, And then now now all I talk about on Twitter is just about like, even if you're someone who has money to fund an account, you could fund an account 100K, dude, go get $1 million worth of prop money. It's the same thing as $100,000 account. And for $1 million total, you're probably going to be paying maybe like $4 or $5 grand.
That's it.
You don't have to do them all at once. You could just do them gradually and stack them up.
Right. Yeah. Stack them up. And I think that like James has multiple accounts with multiple companies. I haven't done anything with FTMO yet, only because I have a iMac and I know that they have like MT5. I was really just comfortable in MT4, but I know a lot of guys, like Tom is another guy who's stacking these accounts with multiple companies. And I think that it was just like you said, you have to make that switch to be like, wait a minute, I could take the risk of my own 100 grand, 100 grand of that risk. Let's just use easy numbers. Or I could put a couple thousand at risk, get funded with someone else and then share the profit with very little downside risk. And it was super appealing to me because James and I really started clicking together and making more money together at a time where I was worried that I was gonna have to pay 120 grand in taxes that year. And I was like, I can't pay 120 grand. That's like two people's salary in taxes. So I was looking for ways to take my personal trading account, get that money working in real estate, and then get the tax benefit from real estate to offset the gains in other areas. So once I started looking at it like that, I was like, I could use this funding company to stay trading a large amount of capital like I'm used to, still stay making money. And then I can take my own money and put it to work to lower my tax bill. And I was like, this is a no-brainer. Like this is what you should be trying to. This is like smart money concepts, I feel like, where you're trying to build wealth the quickest way possible. You're not trying to like old school, like I got to do it my own way. I got to do it with no, bro, like you got to be 100%. Open-minded. You know what I'm saying? So with the way that you're trading now, can you tell everybody, I know you mentioned already, and James will speak on this a little bit, like the 1 to 2, do you even do 1 to 3? Are you looking for 3 to 1 often? Like what's your risk reward that you're looking for in your, with your funded accounts? Because I know with this is something we should be clear on. I'm sure you feel the same way. When you're trying to get funded, you're a little bit more aggressive in your risk because you have a time frame. You have to be. But once you're funded, I want to talk about, like, for right now, at least, funded accounts. How are you approaching the preservation of that capital, staying alive? Are you looking for the big hits? Are you looking for the small hits? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so it's funny. I recently had a transition from that because, you guys recently followed me on Twitter. So, like, I even spoke about it. Like, I remember back. So I got my FTMO 300K account back in, well, it's 300K total because I do 100K and then 200K for trade copy. We could get into the trade copies because I think that's a major
definitely
help psychologically, and we'll talk about that later. Okay. But I had a 100K account and I had 200K account linked to that, and I was trading the account from, it was I think I got the account like towards the end of February. Yeah, it was the end of February when I finally like passed the challenge, got my funded account. My goal was kind of just like, yo, let's push it. Like, you can easily do, X amount of money. And I did, you know what I mean? Like, I even have a video on YouTube where I was talking about like making like about, I think it was like $46,000 within a few months.
Yep.
Yeah. And like, But then I was like, dude, that's thinking about me. I'm always transparent because I'm confident in myself. But then I posted on it was like the end of May. I posted on Twitter, like, full transparency. I blew the 300K account, but and I showed the overall payout that slip and said like, but this is how much I was able to make. And then I was like hesitant, like, should I even post this? But then I'm like, dude, I paid what was it, like 500, it was like $600 I think for the 100K, and then like 1,200 bucks. I'm like, dude, I paid like just under $2,000 for the account, and I just made over 40 grand on it in a few months, you know. And again, I'm actually about to get 400K funded FTMO. I'm like one trade away.
That's awesome. But people will still talk shit on that. They'll be like, oh, he blew his 300K. Bro. But you know what? It's good you posted, because now that you're trying to, you know, build your brand and grow a little bit more, you've got the university, you've got your stuff that you're growing now. You want that attention, bro. I can tell you, I've had meetings with my marketing team when we used to have a marketing team. When we had a big sale or something big coming up, they would sit there with me and we would look at the analytics of my videos and my posts, and you would see losing trades or me saying my mistakes got the most engagement. Always.
Yeah, and the thing is, the thing about me is like, I think people don't understand. Like, dude, you can blow some of these funding accounts. It's not affecting my net worth.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And the reality is this: I'm confident in myself to go ahead and get another account. Plus, at the time, I already had an account with the funded trader. Now I have an account with my Forex funds. God willing, one more trade, and I'll be having a 400K with FTMO. I know I can do it again. It's not like. It's not like, oh my God, like, you know, he blew it, that's it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Plus, but going into what you were talking about, that's why I have a different approach this time around, where it's like, dude, just, you know what? Because the more accounts that you get, you could just take a more reserved approach. And then, so once I get this FTMO 400K, I have 200K with the funded trader, 100K with my Forex funds. I want to try to max out all three.
Yeah.
But I think like the approach I'm going to have now is going to be like, because I was adopting the same approach as having a challenge, where I was doing, you know, 1 to 2%, you know, kind of pushing a little bit. Yeah. Which is cool, right? Some people have high risk tolerances. Of course. The reality is, like, you know, I understand like the bigger picture. Like, if you have $1 million worth of like prop firms, right, which is $100,000 worth of equity, right? You can just pull anywhere between like, you know, 20%, 30% a month on that 100K, and you'll make, you know, 20, 30 grand. No problem. And I know like some people like think, oh no, that like 20, 30% a month, but it's like, dude, if you're risking, let's say 0.5% of the 100K account, which is really 5%, right? Because you can only lose $10,000. If I'm risking $500, and let's say for the month I do 10R, right? Which I don't think is pretty crazy. Let's just get like, you know, put like some numbers to it. Yeah. That's $5,000 that you'll make for the month, right? So 5,000 times, let's say you do 5% on that on every single account. That's going to be about $50,000 before the payout, and it's going to be around 40K after the 80% payout. And then, dude, like 40K, not risking any of your own money not every month, obviously, but like on average, if you do 5% on $1 million, like, come on, dude, it's just a no-brainer to me. Right.
The risk is so low. So back to what you were saying about the taking profit at certain R multiples. James has been a guy who has helped me and a lot of people, I think, on the internet get into this mindset of taking profits sooner and winning at a high rate. James is one of the highest win rates that I've worked with. He's over 80%. He is someone who I feel like does similar to you, doesn't care about what other people are doing, confident in his own ability, kills it in his own way, and sticks to that. So in a world where both of you have to deal with so much commentary from the outside world, maybe you want to speak on this first, James. How do you stay locked in that piece of confidence that you have to push it when you want to push it and then back off? We'll talk more about the numbers that you mentioned, Omar, in a second, but I want to hear about like the psychology from you guys. So James, first, how do you stay locked into your own confident self when the whole world is basically out there to tell you you're wrong?
I think I think what helps me is if you're making money, it doesn't really matter.
Good answer.
Yeah, if you're making money, it doesn't really matter what everybody else has to say about my risk to reward ratio or anything like that. If I'm getting payouts from the companies and trading my own account as well, then it doesn't really matter. Yeah, I think that's just my stance on it. Just focus on yourself.
What do you think, Omar?
Yeah, 100%. Like it's you know, the funniest thing is like it's exactly, I have the same exact thought process that James just kind of illustrated, because it's like, dude,
making money, who cares?
Exactly. And it's, you know, it's funny, it's always the trolls that probably like aren't even profitable that are like talking shit.
Well, think about it. Who would have the negative energy to go out of their way to be like, hey man, you suck. Omar, you suck for losing money, bro. It's like, first of all, anyone that speaks about trading, I was on a coaching call this morning with one of the guys that's in our Black Shirt Club, and I was talking to him about this. And I was like, anyone that speaks on trading and is willing to be like, judgmental of someone based on their P&L doesn't understand trading, because nobody knows the outcomes to our trades. You might have a great fucking read. You had a great call on EU. I had a great call on GU. Like, you might have a good read, but you never know which ones are right or wrong. So to judge someone on their P&L solely, especially if they're an experienced trader, it's not worth it, because even great traders are going to go through periods of drawdown. No one is going to make 50% every month, but some people can have 50% months if they have a system and they have a winning approach. And then when you do put up that 47 or 40K P&L, the trolls disappear. But when you put up, I lost 40K this month, they come out and they want to tell you how bad. But I think that is just the culture that we live in. And guys like us have to feed off of it. Like, I know everyone watching me, all of my file, when I do something stupid, I know they're going to look at that more. So I might promote something good in that video that gets you to buy something from me, or do something that I need to subscribe to something. You know what I mean? Because I know that's good. So I'll play the game with you. I'll give you, trolls, the food that you want to rip me up, but I'm also going to hit you with a sales pitch in there too. You know what I'm saying? So, okay. So now, like, I want to go back to, like I said, the numbers about the risk reward too, because I think this is a big topic for a lot of people. Snagging and bagging is what we call it. Taking profit, not going for those big wins. So what do you do? Now, you said you are taking profit sooner than before. And this could be something to talk about too, just like the climate that we're in with the global picture, right? With interest rates and stock market where they are, and all these other things, where the election and the this and that, all these things that could be feeding into why we have to snag and bag more than in 2020, where everything was very bullish and you had a lot of clean trend and blah, blah, blah. So market conditions aside, what about the psychological aspect of, I'm getting in and I'm getting out of this trade quick, and I'm actually not needing to be stuck at the desk? Can you both, maybe James, if you want to take a whack at this first, the aspect of, like, I can get in, get out, make my money, and then move on. How did you make the switch to, like, I don't want to be stuck at the desk all day? Because a lot of guys are, remember, a lot of guys sit here all day and jam at the desk trying to make trades. So how do you get to the point of being like, I don't need to do that. I want to do less, get in, get out, do it better, and then get bigger. Like Omar said, scale up, max out the funded accounts, and make your 10 pips be worth way more than everybody else's 10 pips.
Yep. Well, I think this comes back to, I'm keen to hear what Omar says, but I think this comes back to exactly what he was saying about getting scaled up with $1 million of prop funding. The more capital you have, the less big the move has to be for you to make your bag for the day. So,
but what if you're leaving money out there?
Capital,
see, this is what people are going to say. They're going to say, James, what if you leave money? You got out at 10 pips and it went 70. You missed it, bro.
It's not my money. I made what I need to. I'll come back the next day. I'll do it again. That's my mindset. And with a big capital, you're going to be satisfied with that bag for the day.
Yes, being satisfied.
I'm keen to hear what Omar says.
Yeah. What do you think, Omar? You want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I just wrote this down just to make sure. So this is so crazy, because I always talk about this, especially now with, like, now that I have the academy. Even before the academy, I was, like, mentoring, like, a couple friends and stuff like that, free of charge.
Yeah.
And, like, dude, I always tell them, it's kind of like pick your poison, right? No system, no strategy is going to be 100%. There's no system that's going to have no cons to it.
Right.
So the reality is this: you're either going to leave money on the table, or you're going to lose floating profit. So you have to choose. That's why, honestly, I don't impose my trade management on anyone else. And even in the account, I always tell people, like, okay, here are the realities of using this type of risk reward, this type of risk reward, and then people kind of have to figure it out what works for them. Because listen, man, I hate having floating profits go to break even or taking a loss. That triggers me way more than leaving money on the table. Because just like James said, I'll just come back tomorrow and I'm going to see another setup around the New York session again. You know, and again, if you're in a big trend, dude, there's so many opportunities to get inside of a trend. Like, for example, that Euro move that you were just talking about, it was a 200 pip range, right? I didn't short at the high and got out at the low. Right. You know what I mean? That's just not my style. Right. But what I did do is every single day, I'm taking short positions here, finding an entry, 15, 20 pips, 30 pips. And then by the end of the week, I was able to snag, maybe 70 pips of the move. Right. I'm okay with that. All right. Because again, it's just the way I'm wired. I cannot, I'm more likely to go on tilt and do something dumb if I have, let's say, imagine if I'm up, let's say if I'm risking $1,000 per trade and I'm up $2,000, $3,000, around typically what I go for 2 to 3, right? It obviously depends on the structure of the market too, because I'm not going to go for 3R if we're at let's say I'm short and there's a crazy strong support level that I deem as a support level. And then, I'm not gonna hold for 3R if I know that, okay, we might get a bounce here. I'm gonna just get out for 2R. Yep. And if I get another setup, boom, no problem. But yeah, it's honestly, there's no right or wrong answer, man. It's just what do you prefer? Are you okay with leaving money on the table, or are you more okay with like losing floating profits? So if someone's okay with going back to break even because their mindset is like, all right, well, you know, the ones that do work, I'm going to get a crazy risk multiple, dude, then by all means you can go for the higher risk to reward. But most traders, from my experience, I'm pretty sure you guys have similar experiences. A lot of traders are not wired that way. You know, most traders are they're gonna feel more like anxiety and more like that type of like energy, losing floating profits.
Most traders are like us. Yeah, you don't.
Yeah, you know,
you're quick. Yeah. You the disposition effect. We're quick to cut our winners and we hold our losers too long. So I think if you can re-engineer 100%. That, you can reverse that. Then it is exactly what you said. Do you want to get stuck giving back floating profits, or do you want to just potentially not get the whole move? I always have this reference, when you eat like a rack of ribs, the ribs in the middle are always the meaty ribs. Yeah. You don't need the ends. I tell everybody, I'm like, no one needs those little ribs on the end, bro. You want the middle. You just need the chunk of the move. And I think that, like you said, you both mentioned something in there, satisfaction, like satisfaction. You're saying I'm satisfied with this move. It's given me enough. I've made my nut. I'm good. That's difficult because what that is saying, you both mentioned it in James's reply and your reply, Omar, that's saying that your mental is not even really attached to the P&L. And I think that's why a lot of people struggle with trading, right? Because they're very greedy. They want that big move. They would rather risk giving back the floating profits for the potential 2 or 3 more R rather than just take the bag and come back tomorrow, because they're, and I think that is something that really, really holds people back.
And let me add something to that too, real quick,
please,
before I forget. Like, the reality is, I think, because James kind of comes off as someone who's like confident in his ability, the way he was speaking about, I'll just come back and do it again, right? Yeah. I honestly think a lot of people don't have that confidence. So they're kind of like, oh my God, well, I just missed out on this big move. Or what if I re-enter and get stopped out again? And that's like an internal dialogue that people have to kind of solve. Like, I'm confident in my abilities as well. So it's like, dude, I'll just get another entry tomorrow. And if I don't get another 100%. Entry, there's going to be another entry. There's going to be another trade. Dude, I posted on Twitter too, like a tweet. I got a lot of engagement with it. I was like, well, did you remember the trade that you missed last month? No. So why do you care about the one that you missed, or like a trade that, like, it does not matter in the near term,
bro.
It really does not matter.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't. And like
100%
self-belief mixed with system belief. Like, your way of reading a chart, you have to believe in that. For me and James, like, we have our back-tested way of approaching the market. Without that confidence from that back testing and from doing it before, you wouldn't be confident to take the trade. And I think that's where people struggle. So we all just hit a great point. Confidence can be broken into psychological confidence and then system confidence. You got to have self-belief in that psychological area, and then you got to have physical belief in your technical system, right?
100%. 100%.
Yeah. What were you going to say a second ago, James? Do you remember?
I was going to ask, just on the prop firm, since we were touching on that as well. What I know on Twitter, since I've been following you the last month or so, but even before that, your tweets used to come up on my timeline and that. So yeah, you're popular, bro. Yeah, what are your top? What would be your top, say, three prop firms right now for you? Because we are speaking about it. People want to know what firms that that you can trust and that you've got paid out and no issues. What would be your top 3, Omar?
Okay, yeah. So it's okay. So I only have 3 to base it off of.
And no endorsements, everybody watching. We're not being paid. We don't get paid by anything.
It's funny because people think that I'm like, I work with the funded trader, but it's like, dude, I just promote them only because, well, I do have an affiliate link, but anyone could get an affiliate link. You don't even have to be confirmed to get that.
Right.
But it's because, like, dude, I'm a huge believer, and so many people have hit me up who were against the prop model, and now they're like, dude, like, this is amazing. So like, I genuinely want people to understand, like, dude, these firms are like legit. And if let's just say hypothetically they ever go under, guess what, dude? Then it happens, you know what I mean? But just take advantage while you can. But to answer James' question, so I'm with FTMO, my Forex funds, and the funded traders. So I personally think FTMO is number 1. Just simply because once you get, and this is just about the funding, it's not about the challenges. But once you get funded, their system and their backend is so smooth, so advanced. The withdrawals literally get. So let's say on your withdrawal, it's bi-weekly off rip. So once you get the live account, it's bi-weekly. With my Forex funds and the funded trader, you have to wait a month before the first payout, and then it becomes bi-weekly. The next thing, FTMO spreads very, very tight with FX and even indices as well. Even with Bitcoin, it's pretty solid. So it's pretty solid in terms of the spreads. And when you withdraw, right, this is my big thing too. When you withdraw, I haven't done a withdrawal of my Forex funds yet because I just got the account. So like by the maybe a couple more weeks, and then I'm valid for a payout. But with FTMO, as soon as you like on the back end, and James, I seen James, he had that $10,000 payout, so he can speak to this as well. Like it's so fast the withdrawal process, and they take the money out the account and they give you the credentials almost immediately. You know what I mean? With the funded trader, right? I don't know. Again, I can't speak for my Forex funds because I haven't got the withdrawal yet. But with the funded trader, they're very solid. The withdrawal process is super, super easy. And I'm actually going to post a video on like the actual of me withdrawing money from them on the back end. But it does take about 3 to 4 business days.
Yep.
So you actually can't trade the account until they,
right.
Finally process the withdrawal.
Gotcha.
Right.
To me, yeah, you know what I mean? Which is not a big deal for me, you know what I mean? Because I'll just trade another.
You got other accounts, but I get why if somebody was just with them, that could be a little bit of a headache.
Exactly.
Yes.
Then that's something to kind of know. But I would put them number 1. The funded trader, I think, is number 2 because their spreads are extremely, extremely tight for FX.
Really?
Withdrawal process very seemingly easy. Just the 3 business days that you have to wait. They're back, and I've never had any issues with slippage. But with my Forex funds, like, dude, I get slipped almost on every single trade. It seems
we've seen that. No,
that's what I was saying.
Yeah,
that's what I was saying as well with mine. Yeah.
Yeah, so I would pull FTMO from the trader and then my Forex funds.
Okay, and for everybody watching, that's really good question, good answer, and good info for everybody watching because like the slippage thing is something you don't know until you get in the game and you start seeing it yourself.
And dude, like if you're someone who, let's say you adopt a tighter risk to reward, like like a tighter stop loss type of thing, right? Which I implement sometimes when I'm scalping. But dude, I can't do it with my Forex fund because if you get slipped 1 to 2 pips and your stop loss originally was like 4 pips, it destroys your risk to reward. And it's like, nah. Even when you leave limits, I left limits in and still got slipped. So I don't
really.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, dude, it's pretty insane. And I have the bid and ask lines on the chart, so I know that the ask, like if I'm getting short, I know that the bid is not where I'm getting filled.
Right, you see it, and then you're getting filled below that. So there is definitely slippage. Yeah, definitely slipping on it.
Yeah.
What do you trade the most?
You're going to keep it close for those. Yeah, so I was going to say for those 2 pip stop loss guys that you always speak about.
They will get.
Oh no, on Twitter they're going to have trouble there. Yeah.
If you're someone who does like those 2-3 pip stop losses, bro, my Forex funds. Again, I'm not trying to bash them. I'm still with them. I'm probably still going to like seek out max funding. Yeah, but you definitely have to take.
You got to know what you're dealing with.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. What do you trade the most, Omar? What instrument? Are you US30, gold, Bitcoin? What do you trade the most? Forex pair?
Yeah, you like if anyone who knows me, like it's just pretty much euro. And that's the thing. People are like, oh, well, like so does your concepts work? The concepts you trade do they work on like other pairs? I'm like, dude, and I'll just call it GJ trade. Like last week, I'll trade UCAD every now and then, Bitcoin. But it's just it is like my focus. And I'm actually interested to see like what James and your experience has been. But for me, it's like when I look at one chart, right? Because I know that the concepts work on every time frame, I can go and take a 5-minute entry and like just target a 15-minute target, right? Or I could take a 15-minute entry and target a 1 hour. It's the same exact.
It's risk reward. If you know where the risk is, if you know where the stop loss is going to be, I can do it. And you know what I've really been learning? It's funny you bring that up. I was saying this to James last week. I feel like my trading over the last year, I've gotten to this point that I never understood, but I've heard people say it. And it's always in like the trading books and everything. They say like you could throw random entries into the market. And if you understand position sizing and stop loss use, you can make money. And I never believed that.
I would not be shocked.
Until now. I really do believe, like if you told me I had to place a trade at any moment, buy or sell, and I could just choose to buy or sell and I can pick a stop loss and a position size, I could make money. Because I think if you can mitigate risk and then hold winners and manage risk, and you can almost take any time frame and make money off of it. I really believe that. So it's funny that you bring that up. So what time frame do you think you're using the most? Because you said you'll scalp, you said you'll swing. What are you looking at the most?
Yeah, honestly, it's pretty like everyone knows that I'm kind of just focused on a daily 4-hour bias. If there's no daily 4-hour bias or weekly bias, then I'll just focus on like a 1-hour bias and just look to like scalp. So that's kind of that's why I'm not like so many people like, oh, what time frame? But it's just like, dude, whatever the market is showing me. If the market is giving me a clear daily trend, right, and the market is at a resistance or whatever, and it's clearly been bearish, like I'm gonna be focused on like, all right, let me just focus on sells at key levels, and I'm gonna look for entries on the M15, M5. I try to get M1, M2 entries sometimes, like because I'm always trying to evolve. But it's just too stressful in my opinion, because there's times where like it's a very nice setup on the 1 minute, but because like if you get in Sometimes it'll maybe just wick above the high because it's still at an M15 or M30 level.
And it's
you know
chopping.
what I mean?
Yep.
Yeah, and then it'll make the move. So I stick to. I have the most success with M15 and M5.
Nice.
M1, M2, I can do it every now and then, but it's just, I always lower my size if I'm doing an M1, M2 entry because I know from my stats that there's a chance that I'm gonna get stopped out of a winning move. So I want to give myself the cushion to re-enter.
It's so cool that you say that because like, if you look at the way that I trade, it's like almost the opposite where I'll size down on some of my overnight trades because it's not normally like my thing. But if I see something like last week, I took Bitcoin short overnight, I'll just take that on a smaller position and I'll let that one run because that's like my area that I'm not as comfortable in. Like for you, it's the 1 minute, 2 minute where you might size down a little bit. So it's just interesting. You find your areas where you're like, hey man, I think I've got an idea here. I want to get in the game, but I don't need to go in it with full size and give back all my gains from the week. I could still go in and make a little nut here, So I think that's the perspective, whether you're on the 1 minute or you're on the daily. The cutting the size, if you're not as confident, can save you money and you can still make money too. But
and it's crazy. It's so true, man, because like people think you have to take every single trade with the same risk, right? And theoretically, yes, right? Like theoretically, it will work out. But there are some trades that you may not have some conviction because maybe two things are off, right? Because like whatever your trading plan is, let's just say you have 4 criteria, maybe you have 3 of them, but one of them isn't there. So you're like, you know what? I still really think this is going to go. My intuition, my experience is letting me like, you know what, this could work. I'm still going to take the trade, even though not all my criteria is met, but I'm just going to maybe put a little bit less size because it is missing this one thing. It is missing the second thing.
Exactly.
But because again, but I would suggest people though, like in the beginning, just take high quality trades. And then as like, because like we've been in the game for like years. So we have intuition, we have experience. That's built. That's not overnight. So someone new, I don't think they should kind of utilize that just yet. But as you get more experience and more familiar with your strategy and system, then there's a little bit of leeway that I think people can have.
Nailed, bro. That's a good clip right there. 100%. You nailed that. That was exactly it. So like for us, I feel like if you, I actually don't even want to add to that. I think that's a great clip. I want to go into the next question.
Right.
You mentioned already trade copiers and you just talked about position sizing. Both of you are using trade copiers. I am not. So Omar, tell us your experience. Give us some insight because like for me, I'm on an iMac. I haven't found a good software for trade copiers that runs well on an iMac, on iOS. But James has one that works well for PC. So I'm curious to know your input. And if you could also speak on, are you trading, since you just talked about the same position size, is it a trade copier that is percentage based? Like, how does it work exactly? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So it's pretty much, my trade copy that I use Forex Solutions.
Okay.
You could, I don't know if it matters if you're on iMac or PC, you could check it out.
I'll check it out.
But like, dude, I think it's one of the best things I've came across because like, let's say that, for example, I'm going to use the FTMO account, for example, right?
Yeah.
That 100K account, I was comfortable trading, let's say, $700 to $1,000 risk per trade.
Sure.
So I'm comfortable doing that. But imagine if for a 200K account, that's going to be $1,400 and $1,400 to $2,000 risk per trade. Like, yeah, I can, if I had to push my mental, I can go ahead and like see the numbers, right? But the reality is this, I'm already comfortable with the 100K account risking $700 to $1,000 per trade. So I'm like, you know what? Let me just add this to a trade copier. And then the trade copier, what it does is it's based off of, so you can do it based off percentages. You can do a fixed lot size.
So it's just going to duplicate it. So you don't have to see the numbers and it doesn't mess with you psychologically.
Exactly, dude. So I'll just take it. So if I'm taking a $700 risk on a 100K account, let's just say I have a 7 pip stop loss. I take a 10 lot position. It automatically on the 200K account, if you do it based off the balance or the equity, right? It will immediately, I usually do it based off the balance. Right. It will be double that. So you'll take the 20 lot on the other account. And the $1,400 is what's being risked, obviously. So now you don't have to have that psychologically taxing where you have to get familiar with that extra drawdown in terms of the P&L. And I think that's a huge game changer because, like, dude, that most people trying to scale up and get that bigger account. If they're comfortable, you could get a 200K account and you're comfortable trading a 50K account. That's perfect.
Right.
You could be comfortable trading a 10K account.
Just copy it.
Platform.
Yeah,
exactly. The trade copy does work. So you psychologically don't have to, put yourself in a position where you kind of have to, get familiar with that drawdown and stuff like that. And, have that psychological barrier. And mind you, people could do this with their own accounts too, man. Like if you have $10,000 of your own personal money, but you don't, let's say someone's not comfortable trading $10,000 because they've been trading like, $2,000 accounts. Dude, just put the 10K in account, trade the 2,000 that you normally would, and boom, set up to the trade copier and it takes everything for you.
Yeah.
What do you want, James? Which one are you using? What is the one that you're using?
I use a copier called forexcopier.com. That's the website that I use. So it's called Forex Copier 3 Forex. Yeah, forexcopier.com is a website, and you can get the remote copying or the local one. So remote would be you copying to someone else based in, like Omar could be copying my trades, but I'm here in South Africa. But I use obviously the local one that's copied from the same MT4s on the same PC, because I'm copying my personal trading account, I'm copying my funded accounts, and so forth. Yeah. So that's the one I use, and it's been working well for me. Yeah, for a while now.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that the copier probably is a must, I think, because if you don't have the copier and you're trying to run multiple accounts, like Omar was saying,
Yep.
Even if you have a risk calculator or something on the desk to put the positions in, like hotkey kind of thing, it's so difficult to do that properly. And especially if you're talking like 3 accounts. So for everybody listening, we just gave you 2 options to go look to for a copier system. But I do want to transition to a separate topic, Omar, because I think this requires some time. You know, on Twitter, as you've been blowing up there, the ICT conversation came up a lot. And I told you before we started the recording, I wanted to talk about this because I'm not familiar with ICT. James, are you? Do you know what ICT is?
No, no, me as well. I'm not familiar either.
And Omar, you were saying the community is it's like a well-known ICT. People know what that is when they're looking to is that because they're on YouTube? Like ICT has put out content on YouTube, and that's how people found them. Is that what you think?
Yeah. So I think also he does like, I'll give him that. He's really good at marketing. Because like, again, he was around. So when I joined his mentorship back in 2018, right? Yeah. That's when I got on Twitter. I wasn't really active. I only made Twitter just because that was the medium that he would use to communicate to students, right? And so I just made it just to like keep up to date with the tweets. And if he was having any lessons that he was doing, you know what I mean, I would just, kind of follow him on there. But it just got super, super like toxic, man. Like in 2018, he would just like, and he would stay. Like there's people that I talk to, like, well-known Twitter followers and stuff like that have like, I'm not gonna put their name out there, but they've messaged me and talked to like recently. So like, that's kind of his game, right? He'll stir up a conversation, he'll stir up all this stuff, and that's what he was doing for majority of 2018, 2019 as a way of marketing, and it worked. You know what I mean? Where he would just kind of like bash other people or like
drama creates attention,
Yeah, so yeah. And listen, dude. I didn't care about all the drama he was doing back then because I was just kind of focused on just learning. Like that's the thing. I have no ego when it comes to learning. I could not like you and still learn. Me too. Still learn from you. If I know that you provide some type of value, even though I may not like the person's character, I'll still gain some type of information or value from that. Yeah. But yeah, I think the reason why it's well known is because I just think he's created a culture where people have this kind of what's the word? They have this entitlement, I guess. So they're like kind of like loud and like, oh yeah,
they think that their analysis is better.
Yeah, and they think that they trade with this. I'm pretty sure you guys seen like those YouTube videos, trade with the banks, and like right. A lot of people use like the concept that he was illustrating. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I think he just did a really good job in terms of like marketing himself. Yeah. In that sense, because for so long people didn't even know what he looked like. You know what I mean? Which was pretty crazy. But I think that's why I think it's because he created such a like cult-like type of following where people, no matter what, they just go and defend him. Like so they just talk about him. And again, this is not.
No, we're not dissing him at all. He built a great following.
This is not like throw shade.
We're talking about him for a reason, right?
Yeah, this is generally how I believe where because dude, like he didn't do any crazy account flip. He didn't do any to get again. Not saying he can't, but that's not how he got his following. His following was pretty much preaching that, oh yeah, I know stuff that you guys don't in terms of like this algorithm that moves price. And I guess people fed into that, and a lot of people because. Yeah, it's a kind of like cult-like mentality where like
a little bit feeds into the conspiracy theory mindset. Like I know something you don't know. There is there's a psychological principle to that. I don't know what it's called.
I don't know if he's lying or not. Like I'm not claiming that. If I have
no.
Yeah, like I don't know. I can't say.
But there is something to be said about the way that plays on people. So I think what I was getting at with my question is just like the community that I see is like those people that preach that concept on Twitter, especially in your DMs and in your replies, like it seems very aggressive. And I have my community with ASFX. Now, I don't think we're as big as ICT. We only have 1,600 members. ASFX, though, you have to watch our video course before you come into the Discord. And I think that has made it so difficult for people to talk shit. And I think that's why I don't have this community of people on the internet outside of my Discord being like, ASFX sucks. This isn't working, blah, blah, blah. Because I think the people come in, they pay to come in, they take it seriously. And then because they paid, because they then watched 15 hours of video courses. Now they're in the Discord. They take it really seriously and they don't treat each other like shit. So I feel like one of the things, if I could tell you, like, as you're building your academy, try to create a sense of community like that, where like there's a wall that they have to get over the wall before they can come talk with you and your people. Because then when that grows on the other side of the wall, they're the best fucking people in the world. They care about each other. They look out for when I'm not answering questions, they look out. And I feel like that ASFX community that we built is almost the opposite of what I see on not just ICT, just some of these other guys on social media, where like you just pay $25, you're in the Discord chat, and everybody in there is telling everybody why they're wrong and my analysis is right. You're wrong, you're buying gold, but not with us. So I feel like if I could give you any advice as you teach people and people want to learn from you, and I think it's amazing, put them in a little bucket, put them behind a wall, keep your community separate from the nastiness of the trading community online. Yeah. And I only got that from like Mark Minaviri, all these other guys that have private access stuff. Keep you private and make people watch your content before they get to you and to the 100%. Community. They'll take it way more serious, I think.
100%. And that's actually a really good model to do. Honestly, I kind of adopted something because I do understand, like, when people come into a community, especially because I've been part of multiple communities before, like, purchasing different mentorships and courses, like, the reality is there's going to be disgruntled traders because, it's a stressful journey. That's why I don't have any type of subscription plans, just like one-time fee. Me and too. I do have limited enrollment. That's the one thing I like
that you did that. I do like that you did that.
Because what it is, when I remember on launch day, I was getting a lot of signups. I'm like, dude, you know what? I want to make sure that I give like the best possible experience. Plus, if I have to change, like, some of the course content, I want to get proper feedback first. So that's why I just closed it off. And like, you know what, I'm going to do another one maybe end of July.
Bro, you're
building I'm going to close it off for the summer and focus on just the group. Yeah, man. Because again, I don't want, I'd rather get a quality amount of traders versus a quantity base. Plus, everyone in my Telegram and stuff like that, my private chat, they all know that, like, because again, the way I do is like, I'll post my analysis, I'll make my weekly outlooks, but then it's like I tell people, look, you guys can obviously, like, communicate with one another, help each other, no problem. Have obviously no issues with that. Just be respectful. That's the only thing I ask for people. And then I have a no tolerance policy too, where it's like, dude, if you guys are disrespectful to one another, it's immediate boot. Like, I'm not. And yeah, I don't care about anything.
We don't have space for the Twitter fingers here, bro.
Yeah,
no
exactly.
Twitter fingers, internet beef, none of that. Like it. I think, and when you create that, like, so again, something I did that you did is great. No membership fees, because I think if you're really trying to help people, as you would agree with me, how can you say, give me $150, $200 every month? I'm helping you make money. I'm helping you make money. It's like,
unless you do signals. Listen, if someone does signals, I can respect that, because signals is something that is like every single day you got to get in, you got to tell people your trade.
Yes.
And that's something recurring, right? But the education, you just pay. I think you just pay one time, you're part of the community, and that's it. Why should I charge you fees for the content that's already out there?
What you're going to do as time goes on, I'm sure you're going to start charging for your one-on-one time, as me and James do, because your time is the most valuable thing in the world, bro. You've given us this time and given the YouTube people time. You're doing it for free, but this is money, bro. Like, this is your time. And as you grow, that's what you'll monetize. And that's what, like, me and James have the Black Shirt Club, where people are paying $3,000 for just 12 weeks with us, but it's 12 weeks, intense coaching, tracking all their trades, daily report cards, weekly report cards, everything to fill out, like, to really take someone from not being funded to funded, or one funded account to two funded accounts. So I think it's like, when you charge for your time and you build a program based on time, you can charge a little bit of a reoccurring thing. But other than that, it's like, just pay me for my time, because then we can elevate. I think you elevate the community further when you're not nickel and diming them. You know what I mean?
100%. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, man. Like, listen, that's, I wholeheartedly agree with that. And I just want to touch one thing actually about, like, in terms of like my whole ICT experience, right? Because I just want to leave it on a positive note as well. Yeah. Like, I always tell people, because people say that I have like an issue with him. Like, dude, my issue is, I always say it's never with him. It's always like, it's with the community that surrounded it, because it's like so toxic on Twitter. But like, my experience like this, right? So I'm going to like outline the whole mentorship thing for you guys.
Please.
Since you guys are not familiar, the way it works was you had to pay a $150 fee, right? This was back in 2018. I think he closed enrollments. Like, he said for good, but he said that multiple times. So I don't know if that is for good, but nonetheless, right? It was $150 every single month for 12 months. And you only got the content for the next month once you paid, and you can't pay for 12 months up front. So you're kind of like stuck, and you kind of have to wait 12 months to get the full pieces to the puzzle. Wow. Again, he could listen, man, people could say whatever they want. My experience was this. I personally think that was not the best approach, because again, how can you solve a puzzle if you don't have all the pieces? Imagine you're trying to complete a puzzle piece, but like someone took a couple of pieces and they put
You'll
it
get them back next week, bro. I'll bring them back next week.
Like
you'll finish the puzzle
next
next
week.
week.
Dude, like how am I going to complete the puzzle? And again, I'm someone who's like dude, I went through Steve Morrow's course. I went through so many different courses. I would sit in a weekend with Steve Morrow's boot camp. It was like what, 15 hours plus?
Yeah, bro. I watched it. We all seen it.
Yeah, it's like I finished it twice.
M's and W's, bro. M's and W's.
Yeah. Exactly, right? And again, he was like entertaining, so so it was easy to watch the content. He was straightforward to the point. But my only thing with the mentorship with the ICT, I learned a lot from it, right? But I genuinely feel, and people could disagree with me. You can't argue my experience. That's ultimately the reality. You can't argue my experience. My genuine experience was I was having trouble because I didn't have all the content there. Plus, most of the content that was kind of outlined there I don't even use. Like a lot of it, I'm not trying to say it was filler, right? Because some people use that stuff that I follow, and they're really good, like, traders from like the mentorship, right? Like I've seen dudes who use like stuff that I don't use, right? Like a little bit more of the advanced stuff. But it was just, I'm a very simple guy. I don't like to use too many of some of those concepts. I just took all the basics, and then I learned about market structure later on from a different mentor. And then that's when everything kind of came together. Just basic price action, market structure, and then using some of the smart money concepts in order to like gauge my entries. That's the only thing I use the smart money concepts for, is just to have a little bit better entries. But I would argue if I just learned about market structure, right? Obviously the kill zones, like in terms of, and people think he created that, but it's not true. Like the reality is this: the New York session, the London session, like, dude, that's been around for decades, like for ages. You know what I mean? Like everyone knows volume comes in at a specific time, but nonetheless, right? Like, if I just focus on market structure, I didn't know anything about smart money concept, but I just knew about like, basic structure, basic supply, basic demand, support, like specific liquidity pools, right? Which again, liquidity pools, I think is just a very common topic. It's not anything
find
like
that out anywhere. You can find that.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Like it's not like someone like created this concept.
Right.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Like if I genuinely feel like if I learned just liquidity pools, market structure, basic supply and demands, and understanding like, the fibs, dude, I probably wouldn't even need, I know for a fact I'll still be making money with just that. Right. But I will say this, I will give the concepts in terms of smart money that people talk about. It just helps me refine like my entry, making my entry a little bit better, and having a solid, like, I'm able to like mitigate my stop loss a little bit better because of those concepts. So I'm not gonna say they're not worth it, but I don't think the 12 months was necessary personally.
I just think that model,
I think it could have been
that model is flawed.
It is 100%. And people can argue with
someone did that. You know who did that? There's a guy, he could be not the first, but one guy got away with that. His name is, I think, is Brandon Bouchard. He was a performance coach, like he's written books. He has like you can look him up. He's written books about like own your day and motivate, like he's a motivational guy. And I think he was the one that came up with that.
Okay,
yeah, he's not a trader. That was the guy who I first saw come up with the model of drip feeding someone course content. And I can only say that he might be one that's influential on it because I use Kajabi. I know you use Teachable. I used to use Teachable. So when you want to upgrade, if you ever have questions, go to Kajabi. Trust me, it's amazing.
I think I'm gonna miss the switch just because like I probably will.
Bro, it has so much more. It's amazing. It's so awesome. But in Kajabi, you'll see when you sign up, they have a course that is Brandon Bouchard's 12-week something. And it's automatically set up so that when people sign up to that, you fill out the content with your shit, and its payment plan is set up so that they get charged every month, and then they get a new section of the content. So I think it works if you're doing certain coaching, maybe like performance coaching, and the person has to do some psychological work every day. But if you're trying to learn how to trade, you want to sit down and watch all 30 hours in a weekend, go do that. I rebundled. We had our starter pack, which was the beginner course and advanced course, which teaches 3 of the systems that's our foundation. But I had a Forex crash course. I had a trader toolkit. I had a Philadelphia 10-hour seminar replay recording, and I had a how to scale up your trading. So I had 4 other courses that were just not selling that much. So I just repackaged my whole shit, and I put all of my videos together in one package, and I'm selling it like you are, one-time fee. And then you get into the Discord for life. And with that push, already, without any marketing or anything, I'm selling more of it because people want to be able to sit down and just consume mass amount of content, because then they know that that shortcuts their experience. And I think when you do it like we do, where you're constantly updating your courses, people love that. Instead of you being like, all right, it's June 21st. I got to wait 9 more days till my next videos come. It's like, come on, man. Like,
dude, I would finish the videos in a weekend, and I'm just like sitting there. And it's just like, and the thing is, he's talking about concepts, because he would do like, market outlooks and stuff like that as well. Which were helpful. I'm not gonna lie, they were helpful, but they were only helpful as I got into like month 9. Month 1, I'm completely lost, because month 1, month 2, I don't have the same information that I would need to properly digest the content. Listen, people, again, that's what I'm saying. This is not a knock. This is just
definitely not. If anything, we've only knocked the model, but it's not his model. He just chose to follow it. That
and again, like he has his reasonings, but again, they're like, dude, it's just, I don't know. I would have rather just paid, let's say, so 150, so that's $1,800 for the year.
Pay the $2,000.
Dude, I would have just paid him. Yeah, I would have made a calm $2,000 if I could just get it. And again, that's his prerogative. That was his idea of like, okay, I think this is gonna be best, And again, maybe it is. I'm just sharing my experience. It could be maybe out of all the profitable traders that were like, that came out of that mentorship, maybe majority of them actually were profitable because of that. But again, and that's what I always tell people, like, don't be kind of like scared to like learn from someone else just because you're part of this smart money community, right? Like, dude, again, if I had that same mentality, right, and I didn't learn about market structure, like higher highs, and I know it's so basic, it's so crazy because it's such a basic concept, but again, I was never taught that at the beginning, so it's like you don't know what you don't know. So if I was taught proper market structure from the jump, like higher highs, higher lows, all these basic concepts, I'm like, dude, where I would be at right now in terms of progression? I would have been able to probably be profitable a lot earlier, because that's majority of what I use to this day. So I would just really highly suggest that people don't shun any new types of information. You don't have to use it, right? Like, you could always learn something new, maybe just take one piece.
Yeah,
and
I
then
totally
just ultimately figure it out for yourself. So just
when you stop learning, then you get screwed, right? Like for someone like you and me,
100%.
you're now going into the business of education. You're pushing your education side. You now have to learn from people, me, James, anyone that has been selling education in any business, because you might find something that you
100%.
like and could apply into your own. Just like I listen to rap music and get ideas about business, and people will be like, how do you get business and like motivation from rap music? I'm like, because I have the right perspective. I try to learn something from everybody, and then I try to take away the things I hate, and I never apply them. And I can even reference, last little thing, when I was a DJ, I remember thinking so many times, if I ran this company, I would not do that, and I would do that. If I ran my own company, I would not do that, and I would do that. You know what I mean? So you learn with the right perspective always. And I think too many people will buy your course or buy my course, and then they'll stop learning. They'll stop. Maybe you found the system. Maybe you like the way Omar trades, and now you trade how Omar. That doesn't mean you should stop reading books from other successful traders and listening to podcasts. You can always learn.
Could not agree more.
Yeah. Last question for you, Omar. Yeah. How do you document and journal your trades? Do you do anything for that?
Yeah, so it's very unconventional, because some people use like Edgewonk. I'm pretty sure you guys. I don't know if you guys are familiar with it.
Yeah, Rolf.
Yeah. But yeah, I used to use Edgewonk. But you know what it is? I just found the way I journaled best is just, and this works for me. So I would implore people.
You're a simple guy. He probably does it in Microsoft Word or something simple, right?
Yeah. Yeah, like it's not dude, I would just create a PDF, right? So what I'll do is I'll go journal the day, right? So I'll journal 2 things. I'll journal what I actually took. Did it follow my system, or was I kind of just being a little bit discretionary on the day because I just, I was just being like, dumb or whatever, right? Because it still happens. People think like once you get to a specific point, you're so disciplined, you never do anything wrong ever again. But nonetheless, but like so I'll journal. I'll go on TradingView. I'll journal the session, and because I only trade like Euro, most like 95% of the time, it's pretty quick. I'll just journal what actually happened, what set up according to my criteria that maybe I didn't see live because maybe I just wasn't focused.
Like
maybe
a best trade of the day almost.
Exactly, right? What happened, and then what did I do? Yeah. And I just put them into a PDF. Like I'll just screenshot, like do that replay feature so I can see how it formed, right? And then like put the notes down, jot it down on the chart. So I'll maybe be like, maybe 5 charts back to back on a PDF.
And you just scroll through, you can see how it
exactly. Then I'll compare it to what I actually did. Did I follow my stop losses? Did I put my targets at the right place? And, and then again, that will be on a separate thing where I just kind of like put it next to the PDF.
How long does that take you every day? How many?
Yeah, exactly. So I'm not like, and because I know like there's specific things. The one thing I do want to adopt, I know you and James do, and S&B does, is that daily report card. That is one thing
I was just going to say, bro, I'm going to send you a video I just posted today with like a simple one that I have. Super similar to yours. Take from it what you want. And then I have another video coming out next week that shows like my super detailed one that we use in the Black Shirt Club. So you'll be able to do what we just said. Take from what you like and then leave the rest what you don't like. You know what I mean? But I'm glad to hear that you do journal and that you do that, because I think a lot of guys will think, oh, he's just a good trader. He doesn't need to do that. It's not like that at all.
And just like one final point about that, like one of my friends, right, I've been mentoring her for a little while now, right? I always tell her, because she's like, dude, how do you see these things like that I can't necessarily see in the charts? And I'm like, dude, it's all because I journal I'm not even joking when I say that. This is not me trying to like be inspirational. I genuinely journal every single day. Even if I don't, even like I trade every day, even if I have a bad trading day, right? Even if I know, like, dude, I just traded stuff that is not even part of my system, which happens from time to time, I will still journal. All right, what actually happened? What entry did I miss? Right? What was I not seeing live? You know, and then I just know my personal emotions too. Like, okay, what do you usually do wrong? For me, I always take profit a little bit too soon sometimes. Like, I know that, okay, this can go to 3-4 hour, but I'll take profit around like 2.
Right.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So that is a big thing.
Could have worse problems, bro. That's a good, I feel like in trading, my answer when people tell me that, like, that's a good problem to have.
It is. Yeah. Because if you're profitable, right, but you're just trying to get to that next level, that is an amazing place to get to. Because once you're already making money, but you realize like, all right, if I just tweak these 2 things in terms of my mental, I know I could maybe like, you know, get 40-50% more money every single week, every single month, which obviously as you start to scale, that's a huge difference in P&L.
In that, would you say like, it's not often that you have to add winning trades or winning ideas? Most of the time it's that you have to take away something that's hurting you. What do you think about that? I find when I'm coaching guys, often especially because like we have our video courses, it's not that they have to learn how to trade a new entry signal. It's that they're doing too much. They're hurting themselves by taking too many trades.
Oh, 1000%. Right? Yeah. When you phrase it like that, dude, I could not agree more, because that entry, like the way I trade, right? Like in terms of entries, it's super, super simple. Like it's literally just a fib retracement after like a market structure break off a key level. Literally, that's it. That's all. That's majority. Obviously, there's like a little bit more nuance to it.
But the guys that end up hurting themselves, they're doing way more than that. They're taking every single one, and they do too much. So
they're
very
not
often I feel like they gotta,
you know?
Yeah, they gotta slim it down. You know what I mean?
100%. And I think that's the key. I think most people need, instead of trying to do trying to do too much, they should probably just kind of cut back on what they're doing, focusing on quality plays. And like, I think this psychological tip, I think I talked about it with the guy from Trading Nut. I think it's better for people to just wait for better opportunities, right? If you can practice the discipline portion and just take bigger size. Because what's the difference between, and James Storms, I don't know if you guys are familiar with him. He's like, dude, he had like one of the best quotes I've ever seen in terms of his story, where he was like, what's the difference between someone taking 10 trades a day at 1% and me taking 1 trade a week at 10%?
Right. Nothing. Yes, there is a difference. One person does a lot less work.
Exactly. And then when he said that, I'm like, dude, it's so true. Because how many times, and we're all traders here, so I know Austin, James, I know you guys, without a doubt in my mind, have had like those times where it's like, dude, if I just waited for this one trade all week and I just executed with bigger size, I would have made more money on the week versus like treading water on those days that the market is a little bit slow. And then, you know, when the market finally presents the opportunity, if I just hit it, I'm not saying go reckless, but if, you know, push a little bit. And then again, this advice is not for beginners, because as a beginner, you don't know what's a good setup.
Right.
And you're still learning that. But once you get to that point, then it's like, all right, you know what? Maybe I should trim it down, maybe put a little bit more size on those plays, and then, you know, just kind of move forward with that.
And this goes back to what we talked about before about the having a way of reading probabilities. You said, like, if you have 4 criteria and one of them isn't there, so we call it A, B, C setups. A setups are perfect. B setups, 1 or 2 things could be better. C setups are the lower probability trades that get smaller size. And I think, like you said, that is an advanced thing. Most new traders come in same size every trade. But when you start to have a system and a way of trading, then you start to study it. Then you can say, this is a higher probability trade for my system, and this is a lower probability trade. So this gets more size 100%. Than this. And actually, 100%. I just might stop trading these low probability size, walk off that day, and look tomorrow for a higher probability and work harder harder tomorrow and do less today. And we have a saying at ASFX, do less, do it better, do it bigger. So trade less, trade better, the best setups, and then trade them bigger. Do less, do it better, do it bigger.
Yeah. I could not agree more than that, man.
So listen, Omar, this has been fantastic, bro. Last thing I want to ask you, I think we're going to have to do a part 2 because I think we get along really well. Like it's just very similar. We have a lot of value.
Listen, man, I'm available throughout the week most of the time. So
this is what I wanted to talk to you about. What are you doing right now to like, are you doing any live streaming or anything like that to show people you're trading?
No, so I just have a public Telegram where I just post my trade ideas. I was thinking about doing live streams, man. I know the guy from Trade Now, I forgot his name though. But he was telling me like he asked like, do you want to do live streams on like his platform because he's doing it with like Andy Peters. I don't know if you're familiar with him.
Yeah,
and a few other guys.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what, man? The only thing about live streams, like I need to be. I'm someone who gets very distracted, and I need to focus on my trading. So like. Yep. Having something like signals or having live streams is very, very difficult for me because I can't explain something and at the same time I'm in a trade because then
you got to do it. You just got to act. So let me just throw this at you. We got it. I mean, we have ASFX TV. Have you seen that yet? Have you seen like? No,
I've seen some. I went on your guys the page and I remember I saw something like it's like ASFX TV.
Yeah. So what we're doing live streams, but not all of them are like live trading streams. So I'm just throwing this out to you because I think you'd be a great fit. If you ever want to come on and run a show, we treat it more like a show where you could come on for 30 minutes, 15 minutes, an hour, once a week, twice a week, whatever, and recap your week, share your ideas, go over your trades, like Tom on Thursdays.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, we'll probably talk about that because I don't mind doing that. It's just I'm just like I know how like Wicks don't like
no, bro, go trade, go do your trading, and then I think you would be. I think people already right now, like even listening to this, they listen to this whole interview. I know we got a lot of people all the way through. They're gonna want to see how are you seeing the market on a day-to-day, week-to-week basis, and I think that this is something where like I said to you before, if I could go back 5 years ago when I started building my brand, I would have not done shit for free. I would not have done live streaming on YouTube. You should consider come do it at ASFX TV. I'll pay you to do it. James gets paid. Everybody gets paid to do it, and you could have your own show. So just something for us to talk about. But I knew I wanted to plug that.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to put that in consideration.
Because now, if you do 100%. Come on board, we're going to reference this episode and be like, "See, I knew I could get him right there." And then, dude, I see the they're generating, and I think people want more of you, and I would love to help that happen. So we'll talk about it off the show. But listen, bro, I appreciate you. James, I appreciate you for being here. I know the audience appreciates all the time and everybody we bring on the show. So Omar, his links are going to be in the bio or in the description. I'll put his YouTube channel, Instagram, Twitter, anything else, Omar? That's like your main socials, right?
Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube is pretty much where I'm at.
Awesome. Well, listen, everybody, thank you so much for listening all the way through. Make sure you follow Omar. Make sure you're subscribed here. And hopefully we'll do this again soon, brother. This has been great. I'm really, really glad we got to do this.
Yeah. Great to have you on, brother.
Thank you guys for having me on.
Thanks, everybody.